Designing the Interactive Design BFA, a principled approach towards pedagogy. This presentation will highlight a profound shift in an established undergraduate design program by integrating user experience theory and practice into core curriculum. The new BFA in interactive design has fostered significant changes in the students' fluencies and competencies in designing for the human experience. We'll showcase the program structure, pedagogy, and student outcomes as the result of major changes to what was once a more generalist design BFA. My name is Heather Shaw, and I am a professor and chair of the design department. I was instrumental in the development of the Interactive Design BFA and also involved in revising the existing Graphic Design BFA. As chair, I have been responsible for implementing the two majors, and I also teach classes within both disciplines.
Hi, my name is Lisa Spitz. This year concludes my fourth year at Lesley University and coincides with Lesley's first graduates of the Interactive Design program. During my time at Lesley, I've worked to build new curriculum that integrates human-centered design, design thinking, and user experience competencies for students of the Interactive Design program.
This presentation explains the programmatic structure of our two BFA programs, with an emphasis on the interactive design major. Examples of in-class assignments and project outcomes serve as evidence for how the curriculum has been developed around three core principles that define our pedagogy. The goal is for viewers to learn how to apply these constructs to their own teaching practice. Lesley Art and Design was founded in 1912 as the School of Practical Art and was one of the nation's first private studio schools. The school's mission was to train professionals, men and women, to be technically competent. Graduates have the promise of successful careers and useful, satisfying lives. The spirit of the institution's foundations and mission is relevant today. We offer professional degree programs that emphasize trained minds, skilled hands, and sensitive hearts, or in 21st century speak, an empathic approach to design. A department review served as a catalyst for updating the design curriculum and the addition of a new major. The review provided the faculty with clear feedback and leverage to make significant changes. This quote by Hugh Dubberly is from the review documentation and has served as a benchmark for our curriculum. And these are the overarching pedagogical shifts that emerged from the program redevelopment. In addition to classroom learning, we incorporated more experiential learning. We wanted to shift students' focus on problems to instead focusing on users' needs. Design thinking is good, but it needs to be supported with clear research methods. And we changed our critique models to include more stakeholder involvement. This work led us to develop two BFA programs for the design department, a BFA in graphic design and a BFA in interactive design. Here is an overview of the two programs, the BFA in graphic design noted in green and the BFA in interactive design, which is blue. This diagram shows the shared courses and discipline-specific courses from each of the majors. Courses that straddle the center of the two main arrows are shared requirements for all the majors. Students in both programs take the same classes for their first 3 semesters of study, immersing students in classes from both disciplines. The program was intentionally designed this way for students to have a grounded framework of competencies for both majors before entering their chosen BFA. It also helps students who are undecided on which BFA to choose. The 3-semester intensive provides students with the opportunity to experience a range of classes from both majors while fulfilling major requirements. This enables them to make an educated decision about which area of design interests them more. In addition to a full range of design electives, graphic design majors can take program requirements from the interactive major as elective courses and vice versa. As a result, graphic and interactive BFA students graduate with a solid understanding of both disciplines, which is showcased in their portfolios and internship work. So let's focus on the core principles for the BFA in interactive design. The interactive design major is a professional degree granting program and is guided by the following core principles. First, design is for humans. Core requirements shift first-year student perspectives from the design of signs and symbols to the design of objects, services, and systems, while also emphasizing the role of empathy in design. Second, interactions are not limited to the screen. Students explore the relationships between physical and digital interfaces, translating physical interactions to digital platforms. In more advanced classes, they explore immersive design experiences through augmented reality, virtual reality, and tangible interfaces. And third, solutions are systems-driven and scalable. Systems thinking is integrated into the first 3 semesters through the introduction of algorithmic and rules-based design projects. More advanced courses focus on scaling interfaces within a larger ecosystem. We graduated our first class from the Interactive Design major in spring 2020, marking its 4th year as a program. This has given us time to reflect on the rollout. One persistent challenge with the interactive program is enrollment. We currently only have a handful of interactive students compared to all the graphic design majors. Here are 2 quotes from high school student essays applying to the design program. One portrays a narrow, though not uncommon view that many students have about design as a decorative device, whereas the other quote portrays an outlier. But this student's shift in understanding happened when she had the opportunity to work on a wayfinding project. It provided her with a new consciousness about her work. She even admits that, before this project, I thought design was simply creating posters and logos. So if the student's perspective is unique, how do we find and attract more like-minded students for the major? Enrollment challenges include tight marketing budgets and limited recruiting efforts. Until that changes, sustaining the major has largely relied on converting students within their first 3 semesters of study. This is an opportunity of time to dispel students' assumptions about the interactive design major. Introduction to Interactivity is a requirement designed to help students better understand the major. In addition, class assignments are crafted with the intent to get students excited about designing for interaction. Play as an act of exploration is a big part of the curriculum. In this assignment, students are tasked with the conceptual development, planning, design, and physical construction for a lo-fi mechanical cardboard arcade game that is designed for a specific user. Students then translate their mechanical design to a mobile platform for the same user. This project introduces students to designing for humans and to working on physical constructs beyond a screen. Working in teams, each group is provided with a user persona that has a unique constraint. This provides context around the problem the students are designing for. The personas also help the students define the goals and objectives of their games based on their end users' needs and constraints. Students begin by creating raw cardboard prototypes to map the game's scale, mechanics, and functionality. There are no specific requirements for the game's physical scale, but its proportions and affordances are tested for ease of use. Prototyping with lo-fi materials enables students to sketch and experiment in a medium they're comfortable working with. It also demystifies interactive media as something that is specifically digital or associated with programming. A scheduled game day invites students, faculty, and staff to test the students' arcade prototypes. This provides the students with the opportunity to test out their games with real people and observe how users interact with their games. User testing reveals successes and failures in their game constructions and rule sets. Participants quickly broke games that had poor mechanics, complex point systems, or confusing rules. This is frustrating to the student designers, particularly when their games don't function as planned or game rules are misinterpreted by players. But students eventually learn to respect these failures as providing a new consciousness to their work and value the unexpected and spontaneous outcomes from user testing. The user testing and feedback from Phase 1 of the project informs the conceptual development of Phase 2, where students are required to reimagine and redesign their games for a mobile device. This requires students to translate their games from the physical environment to screen boundaries. They also have to reimagine how physical gestures and movements transition to interface behaviors, such as taps, swipes, and so on, and how the mechanics and physics of their cardboard games become digital interactions. Additional aspects of gameplay, such as quit, pause, and resume, must be factored into the digital interface. These are things that were not part of their original cardboard constructions. To achieve this, students storyboard all the possibilities that a user might encounter through a single round of gameplay. Students use a mobile app that allows them to photograph their interface sketches and convert them to nonlinear clickable prototypes. This enables students to test each other's paper interfaces in a digital environment and revise as needed. It also reinforces the use of lo-fi materials, which makes learning interaction design feel more accessible. Once the paper prototypes go through several rounds of user testing, these are refined into a polished game schematic, which provides a clear overview for the entire mapping of the game. This assignment has been pivotal in getting students excited about designing for interactivity. It encourages students to use imagination and creativity to design and build a functional prototype, and then reimagine that prototype for a digital experience. It requires students to see how their work functions within a human space. And students get to create an interactive experience that seeks to engage and delight their participants.
In the second semester of their freshman year, we began to challenge students' pre-existing assumptions while introducing them to the iterative process of design. This class develops students' ability to see design as a process for identifying needs and improving lives, as opposed to an opportunity to apply their creativity to a predetermined problem. In the first year of running this course, we were fortunate to work with the Institute for Human-Centered Design, who had a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. Their grant allowed us to work directly with user experts, individuals over the age of 65, who represent a range of functional abilities. The course is divided into 3 roughly equal phases, with students working in teams throughout the semester. At the end of each phase, 2 things happen. Groups present their process and outcomes to the class, and students write a personal reflection containing one lesson they learned about design during that phase. To be successful, students are encouraged to ask questions, keep an open mind, be respectful, embrace ambiguity, think broadly, try something new, and fail fast. In phase 1, students conduct interviews both with user experts in the classroom and with individuals outside of the classroom, with the goal of understanding what life looks like for people over 65. One challenge students then face is making sense of large amounts of qualitative data. We do this by mapping insights along a number of dimensions in search of common experiences. At the end of phase 1, teams present 2 to 3 distinct user personas that are a reflection of their research and data analysis. Personas are a way of combining what they know about people into a few archetype, each persona telling a different story, as identified through the team's research. These become the people they design for. In phase 2, teams continue to develop their understanding of user groups while imagining exciting future possibilities. Core competencies explored in phase 2 include the ability to frame problems, generate and evaluate ideas, and finally, visualize solutions. Design teams are challenged to come up with 100 ways of solving their design challenge. Ideas are then grouped based on similarities and mapped according to how distinct, impactful, or innovative each idea is. Oftentimes, students work alongside user experts to prioritize problems and solutions, shaping their ideas into exciting and novel future scenarios. At the end of Phase 2, students present their most compelling ideas in the form of a one-page gallery sketch, which includes a brief description of the problem they are solving, an emblematic image that depicts the solution, and a series of notes and labels that provide context and clarity. In Phase 3, teams choose their strongest concept and create rough prototypes, demonstrating how their solution solves a particular problem for their persona. Prototypes may be of an environment, a physical product, a digital product, or a service. The course purposefully allows students to determine which solution is best fit for their persona and problem, reinforcing the idea that design is human-centered. After getting feedback, teams revise and then present their final concepts at the end of the semester. Presentations include a demonstration of what the solution is and how it might be used to enhance daily life, with our user experts rating each solution based on its potential impact. Throughout the semester, student journal reflections indicate a shift in mindset, from design as a tool for making something look good to design as a process for identifying needs and creating meaningful impact. At the beginning of their sophomore year, students take Interactive Workshop, a class that is half HTML, CSS, and half information architecture, each roughly 7 weeks in length. In the information architecture portion of the class, students learn techniques for evaluating interfaces, organizing information, and prototyping intuitive interfaces. Students begin by choosing one of 4 provided RFPs for a website redesign. RFPs are chosen from an internet search. I look for organizations that have outgrown their small to medium-sized content-driven websites who provide information about intended user groups and their redesign goals. Here, I've pulled several slides from recent interactive design graduate Emily Bruni's portfolio to demonstrate work products and process. Students begin by diving into the website content. They complete a site audit that captures all pages from the existing website, noting what needs to be removed, modified, or even added according to the RFP. Simultaneously, students conduct informal user testing, identifying both affordances and challenges with the existing website navigation and design. Between the site audit and user testing, students usually find that they have a lot of content to work with and that the current site is somewhat difficult to navigate. Their next task is to create and validate an information structure that allows people to easily find what they are looking for. They do that through card sorting, where other people are asked to group, sort, and label content. Students are often surprised that people organize and label content differently from one another. This helps reinforce the need for user testing, and so students then conduct tree testing to validate their proposed site structures. This type of testing checks to see if people know where to click to find important information. Based on tree test feedback, students revise the content organization and categorization and create their final sitemap. For many students, getting to this final sitemap is the most unfamiliar and difficult part of the project. What follows is a more familiar process of sketching and prototyping. Students begin by developing ideas on paper with a focus on content hierarchy and navigation schemes for both web and mobile formats. Then they move into Adobe XD to create low-fidelity prototypes, simple black-white grayscale wireframes that demonstrate how content is organized and accessed. One final critical aspect of this project is that students are then required to test their prototypes with real people. With usertesting.com, students have access to 3 participants for free. Through this platform, students can hear people's voices and see their screens as they attempt to complete a few tasks using their website prototypes. This is a great way for students to see how their design is experienced through someone else's eyes. Finally, we conclude our 7-week portion of the class with students revising their prototypes and creating a process book. At this point in the curriculum, students have completed 3 semesters of coursework. As advising for the spring semester of their sophomore year picks up, we have found this an opportune time to check in with students regarding their chosen major. We say something to the effect of, if you liked Intro to Interactivity, Design Thinking and Research, and Interactive Workshop, Interactive Design might be right for you. And sure enough, we often see a few students switching degree programs at this particular point in time. These quotes from 2 of our students who did switch from graphic design to interactive design demonstrate some of the factors affecting their decision. Students begin their specialization in interactive design in their 3rd semester. In User Experience 1, we explore multiple models of interaction and experience and discuss how they relate to the practice of design. Our first project takes a broad look at the complexity of experiences. Instead of designing or evaluating one single interface, students are asked to consider an individual's many and multiple points of contact within a larger system of products, services, and environments. In one instance, students were asked to map the experience of transfer students to Lesley University, identifying common strengths or challenges that characterize their end-to-end experience. Armed with a few key questions, students assumed the role of researcher, identifying stages of the typical transfer journey and drafting a list of questions meant to uncover what the transfer students think, feel, say, and do within each stage of the transfer student experience. During the second week of class, 6 Lesley transfer students who volunteered to participate in our research attended a 3-hour workshop led by the student researchers. Throughout the journey mapping workshop, student researchers captured data from each of the participants on sticky notes and then placed them on a large template organized by stage of the transfer journey and type of observation, thoughts, actions, feelings, or systems. By the end of the data collection workshop, students had a rich set of data for analysis. Students worked individually and in small groups, using studio time to identify themes, create storyboards, and develop rough conceptual sketches for mapping the transfer student experience. Students' final deliverable was an experience map, an 11 by 17-inch poster that included a visualization of the transfer student experience and opportunities for new products, services, or systems that might have potential for positive impact. At the end of the project, students presented their findings and recommendations to campus leadership, including changes to academic policy, internal systems, programming, and marketing. A continuation of the principles and methods of User Experience 1. In User Experience 2, students develop a deeper understanding of the research and design skills necessary for identifying and defining problems, developing diverse conceptual solutions, and implementing scalable systems. In addition to the ideating and prototyping that students have come to expect in design classes, students in this class are asked to create a design system that can be scaled up to additional products and pages beyond their initial prototype. The following slides depict work from recent graduate Sebastian Artiega for Minta, the self-proclaimed Airbnb of scientific instruments. Minta wanted to be seen as dynamic, modern, and fluid. Sebastian created a series of mood boards depicting what each of those adjectives might look and feel like. Based primarily on his dynamic mood board, Sebastian ended up with a design that looked something like this. The next step was to create a unified, scalable pattern library that allows other people to design and build pages that fit with Sebastian's original design comps. Sebastian's design system included UI elements, typography, colors, as well as other aspects of grids, components, and form fields. We would like to conclude with the program outcomes that were submitted to NASAD for accreditation in 2015. These still feel very relevant to the curriculum we are seeing rolled out over the past 4 years. We're still struggling to increase enrollment, but now that the program is fully implemented, this includes developing new courses, hiring faculty to teach those courses, challenges with scheduling 2 majors to avoid conflicts, properly advising students, and so on. Now we can pivot our attention towards focusing on enrollment strategies during our recruiting season. This will include featuring alumni success stories and having interactive design majors and alumni present at all recruiting events. We'll leave with one last quote from a student who fully didn't understand the difference until she had exposure to both disciplines in her first 3 semesters.